Hi, my name is Rod Cleef, and I'm the host of the Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing podcast. And every week I interview multifamily rock stars, and we talk about how they've built incredible wealth for themselves and their families through multifamily properties. So hit the like and subscribe buttons to get notified every Monday when a new episode comes out. Let's get to it. Welcome to another edition of How to Build Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. I'm Rod Cleef, and I'm thrilled you're here. And it's a real treat to have my friend Joe Killinger back on the show again. Now, Joe actually has his own YouTube channel as well. It's called the Real Estate Jam Session, so you need to go check that out. And he's just got a servant's heart. He wants to help other people. He doesn't sell anything. He just wants to be there as a resource. So, definitely want to check out his YouTube channel. He's been an agent, an investor, a syndicator. He owns companies. He's had hundreds of multifamily units himself, but he's also in single tenant lease, asset classes, single tenant leasing asset classes, and just a treat to have you back, brother.
Thank you, Rod. Thank you for having me on the show. Now I'm going to apologize. I'm putting a TV. We just expanded our office, so this is going to be a TV someday.
Okay, well, we'll just imagine there's a TV there, and it's got some good looking girl on it or something. Good.
Yeah, there you go. All right. Something other than that blank space. It looks like
right. Anything, right? Love it. So because it's been so long, buddy. I mean, it's been years since you've been on. Why don't you go ahead and start over and just tell my listeners how you got into the business and kind of bring us current in a few minutes.
Yeah. I really got into. I moved to California in the 80s, and I had to get out of Nebraska. There were just no jobs there in the 80s. Got out here, started working at Stride Right Shoes, of all things, putting kids' shoes on, telemarketing at night, but knew that I eventually wanted to get into real estate. So I did everything I could. I tried to mentor with a residential real estate agent. Didn't take me long to learn that this was not something that I wanted to do. I need to be on the more investment side. Ended up getting my license, moving up to Los Angeles. I was originally in San Clemente, which beautiful place. If you've ever not ever been, you want to check it out. But moved up to Los Angeles, ended up just loving real estate here, trying to really figure out what to do, and work some construction on movie sets. That was fun. But while I was doing it, I lived super cheap. I lived in a hotel with a bathroom down the hall. Had a roommate, and it was a room that was like 10 by 10. There was enough room for 2 beds. We fall in there and crash at night, shower down the hall, go to work. And so I put my time in, was there for a couple of years. And while I was there, I was just saving money. And then I got a couple guys together, started flipping some homes, and that market turned, and I ended up working at a real estate auction company in Los Angeles called Kennedy.
So I'm guessing this was around 08 and 09. You were flipping before then, the market turned, and then you got into auctions, which were huge.
Early 90s that we were flipping.
Oh, this is way back. Okay,
way so this
back. Is the first crash.
Yeah,
gotcha.
I was a putt trying to do that stuff. And I had one good partner and one not so good. But the economy tanked. Ended up at a real estate auction company in Los Angeles, Kennedy Wilson. Started working there, really learned how to do real estate auctions, and I worked in the marketing department. So I really learned a lot about marketing. And then my business partner, George Pino, he's a CEO of our now brokerage company here in LA. I got moved into his department, and he ended up laying me off. And so we've been business partners ever since. And I tell you, he pays for it every day. And laid me off. I'll beat your ass for 30 years.
Love it.
I just don't let go. But then we started a brokerage company, Commercial Brokers International in Los Angeles. And then we do investment properties. We started in multifamily. We bought our first 10-unit building in the Adams area in Los Angeles. And we thought we overpaid at $250,000 for 10 units. Cut to, I think,
you paid $250 for the whole place.
Yeah. This has been a lot of years ago. Keep in mind.
Right.
So we bought that property and really started working that. We bought another one, got a big lesson there, 3-story walk up in what is now Koreatown. Beautiful. I mean, I was really not bright about it because it was 6 units and they were big, but it was a 3-story walk up, and keeping those 2 units up top filled. Very difficult.
Kind of hard to drag a bed and a big screen TV and everything else up 3 flights.
In a largely Hispanic community, the groceries, it was dragging that up every day. It was very hard. So you had to discount those. But learned a lot from that. I made a lot of mistakes, so I do this, to try and really help people that have, I've made a lot of beauty mistakes that you could, for entertainment value, I guess, but learn from it so you don't go through that. And, I just think there's a lot of, in the guests we have on too, we talk to them about, tell us what worked, what didn't work. So trying to help people the shortest path to success.
No, I love it. I love it. And I actually should have worn my shirt. One of my students got me a shirt that says #ask me how I know. Because in my boot camps, I'll say, you don't want to do this. Ask me how I know. And I say it so much that we now sell the shirt at my boot camps.
Do you really?
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Here's what not to do. Yeah. I'm the poster child. Well, that's awesome. So I've got a bunch of stuff we can dig into here. The first thing, I circle back to some of the things you said. So you've had some not so good partnerships and some good partnerships. This business, this commercial real estate business is a team sport. Talk about what the components are of a good partnership and what causes a partnership not to be good. So if you could speak to that, I'd love to get your insight on that.
Yeah. I had, so I put in a little bit of money. Another investor put in a little bit of money. And then we had the contractor that put in his time, sweat equity. And, the money guys were there every day ready to do the work. And the contractor just put in sweat equity. Wasn't really around that much. And the overruns and,
what could have been done differently?
Everybody should have put in equally, I think, is probably what we should have done. And I was 27 or 28. I look back now and what was I thinking? I just wanted to do a deal so bad, Rod, that I just took anybody. And I got lucky with the one partner, but the other one, not so much. And, I just think it's patience, finding the right property, finding the right people.
And so if you don't mind, I'd like to drill down on that just a little bit more because this is so important for my listeners because in this business, you're going to have partnerships. And by the way, guys, I've got a free resource and, what is the acronym for this thing? It's a book called Questions to Ask When Forming a Partnership. So they ask all the hard questions up front. Oh gosh, now I don't remember how they get it. I'll look it up while we're talking here. But I'll give you. You can text something to get this book, which is really powerful because I've had partnerships that have failed as well, and a lot of the problem is not going through and really doing your homework up front to see. What? Hang on, I'm just looking it up real quick here. Where is it? Partnership. Oh, it's just It's partnership. Just text the word partnership to 72345 and you can get that book. And it's, in fact, I just used it with my newest partner, Scott, myself. And it's got all sorts of questions in here, but, speak to what, obviously this would be something you might've done differently. Anything else come to mind as it relates to, when you form a partnership?
Yeah. It's, for me, it's like, there should have been a laid out plan. And we just started doing it like, okay, this is what we're going to do.
Got
it. It was, so there was no plan laid out. This is your responsibility. This is my responsibility. Here's the time frames, really treating it like a business. And we're young guys, we thought we knew everything. Turns out we knew nothing, but we sure got the experience from it. And we got lucky. I mean, we did a few homes that we were buying and flipping and, we made a little bit of money, did pretty well in the first two, but once we started making some money, the guy with sweat equity, we just couldn't, the contractor, we couldn't get him to show up very often. So we got out of all of them, but you've got to treat it like it's a business. That's number one. You've got to treat everything. You need to have a detailed plan laid out. We went partnership, property, financing, and we should have worked on the financing, make sure everything was in place first, obviously partnership first, but know all details in the partnership, who's going to do what. This is what you're responsible for. These are the time frames we want on the market by, and then getting the money raised, and then the property. But we did partnership, property, then we were stressed to go out and find the rest of the money to help invest. And it's just bass backwards. It's just nothing. There was so much anxiety all the time. And we made a mistake of allowing the contractor to live in the home as he was working on it. So he had free rent, and
Mm-hmm.
it was just a whole group of bad decisions because we were inexperienced and we didn't really know anybody doing it at the time.
Let me put an exclamation mark on a couple of things you said. Guys, when you buy a property, you need a business plan, just like if you were going to build or buy a business. It is a business, and that's what he's describing here. And you literally, when we buy an apartment complex, we have a plan for that complex, what we plan to do, how many units we're going to do it to, what our budget's going to be, how we're going to market, how we're going to manage, who's going to manage, who's responsible for all of that. So keep that in mind. You don't, great. I'm really glad you brought that up. And the second thing is, as it relates to financing and raising money, you need to be doing that while you're looking for properties. You need to be, if you've got a deal that you're interested in, you get your loan broker involved immediately to review that deal and see what sort of financing is available for it. And if you're going to raise money, you're talking to investors even before you have a deal. Now, one of the advantages if you come to one of my boot camps is you'll get a sample deal package that you can give to a potential investor. It's an example of a deal you can modify or use that one and just say, this is the kind of stuff we're looking for. If we find something looks like this, are you interested? And so you start building a Rolodex. That dates me, that comment. Building a Rolodex of people, the CRM of people that could potentially be investors. Awesome. I'm really glad we drilled down on that because it's so important. Let's talk about auctions for a minute because I talk about auctions, and let me say how I describe them, and you tell me what you think about what I say, and then share your insights. So, I tell people, when you buy a property that's listed with a broker, you'll get a broker's offering memorandum, and it's primarily pro forma, what they think the property will do, which in many times can be toilet paper. You need to know what it's done historically, and need as much historical data as you can get. And very often you don't get a lot of that until you have it under contract or accepted LOI. And so, you'll typically have a due diligence period. But even with, the market as hot as it is right now, even sometimes you don't have much of that right now. We'll get back to normal on that before too long. But with an auction property, if you bid on it and you're successful, it's your deal, or you'll lose a lot of money if you back out. Yes. Number one.
Well, it depends on the type of auction. Yes. In some cases there can be, there might be a reserve on it. So you need to know what type of auction you're going to. Is there going to be a minimum reserve?
Or what I mean is you'll have to put up a deposit to have the privilege of bidding, right?
It depends on the auctions. I haven't done an auction in years. They're all going online. But the way we did it was you go in and bid. Okay. And then if you get the property and you met the reserve or beyond the reserve, then you would get the house. You had to put the deposit on that day.
Okay.
But yeah.
The ones that I've attended, you actually have to put some money up to have the privilege of bidding, so they know you're serious and you don't screw up their auction. And so, but the other piece is you're doing due diligence on an asset that you're not even sure you're going to get in advance of the auction. I'm talking multifamily now, not a single family. Yep. Single family, there's less margin for error in most cases. But on a multifamily, you're likely not going to scope the sewer lines. You're not going to know if there's aluminum wiring, if there's maybe you can see if there's foundation issues or structural issues, but very often it's difficult to do any exhaustive due diligence. And so, the other thing is most auction packages, I tell people it's a great place to learn the business because the package will have everything that the auctioneer has on it. You'll see appraisals and third-party reports like environmental reports, surveys, things like that. So it's just a great place to learn the business, to enhance your knowledge. I don't know if you agree with that statement either.
Oh, no, I think so. Now, when we did some commercial, some multifamily, we'd have inspection day. We were doing it back then. Now, you got to remember, this was in the mid 90s. We'd have inspection time where you could do it ahead of the auction. And then so with the day that you bought, you got it. But certain companies did it differently. Depends on the company you went to. But the single family homes, there's a very mathematical process that goes into those auctions. So let's say we have a 60 property auction and we have open houses 2 weekends prior, Saturdays and Sundays prior to the actual auction weekend. Right. So we track all that, right? We see which homes everybody was most interested in. And, and then we would, during the auction, you would put a home, the first property on auction would be a mid-level property that people were interested in. So I had 50 people that were interested in that house, and the number one house had 200 people. So first property the auction would be 50. The next one would be somebody with like 100. The third one would be with the number one house. So it drives the prices up. So it's all mathematically done. So you got if you go to an auction, keep your emotions out of it.
Right. And you should have your ceiling clearly delineated at that before you go in and not budge on it either. And you're right. You can't be emotional.
It's numbers. Back to being a business, right?
Yep.
It's just all about the numbers.
No, I love it. Love it. So, we were talking before we started recording about this latest asset in Dallas. And I've got several assets in Dallas, I think 4 or 5 now, but you had a 73 unit, I think you said, that was quasi a D property.
Oh yeah.
So, on the show here, I tell people to avoid D properties. Now I know it worked out for you, but talk about some of the lessons learned on that particular asset. Because I know you just sold it and it worked out great. But how long have you owned it? Let's start there.
I think we had it for 9 years.
Wow.
Yeah, we had
okay, so you have a lot of bruises. Okay, so talk about some of the stuff that happened there. Just I think it'd be really helpful.
Okay, yeah, I can start from the very beginning. So we had an exchange, and we went too long on the exchange, and then we ended up just kind of picking a property to buy it. And I too do not like D assets. They're typically too much work. Now, when I say it's a D, the outside of it looked horrible. Right. Now the interiors were all done up nice, and I had great long-term tenants.
Okay.
But the reason we didn't put a lot of money into the exterior that time during that time that we owned it was it was on over an acre of land, and it was just the property was underutilized. So our plan was when everything started turning in that area. I'm
sorry. 1 acre for 73 units?
Yep.
So how high was the property?
It was 2-story, just a 2-story.
How the hell did you get 73 units on 1 acre?
Oh, it was terrible. I mean, the layout was it was a little bit over an acre, but not much.
Okay.
And so, Wow. Come to LA. We'll show you how to do it.
Wow. Okay. This is LA. Okay. Please continue.
This is in Dallas, but
Dallas.
So we were going to add about another 30% more units, go up a level. But the offer that came in was, if we'd have gone through all that risk of getting rid of it or moving the tenants out, putting them up, demo, rebuild. Yeah, it was.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's not feasible. But so what are some of the hurdles that you had to overcome managing this asset managing, or I don't know if you property managed it as well.
Right. Yeah, we managed it.
You managed it. Okay. So it was all in-house. So you hired the property manager and you managed it. So what are some of the hurdles you had to overcome? Because,
well, I can start right. Here's one of the things that, we bought a good enough. We just own STNL and Chase Banks, Jack in the Boxes. Those
STL is single tenant leases, guys. So like you get a Chase Bank, and that's the only tenant in an asset. We don't talk about that here much, but that's an asset class that I love as well, because you get a big national tenant. They're going to pay the rent, and the margins aren't as big because it's pretty. It's kind of a. I'd compare that to a yield play in the multifamily business, where you're buying an A-class asset, banking on rents to go up. But it's really not a value add scenario. Would you agree?
Well, the one is for us because it was a Chase Bank with 8.5 years left. They were going dark, and we know that area very well. So what we're going to do is go in and find the tenant that we want to put in there, and then we'll be able to flip them. I'll go to the Chase Bank and go, listen, you got 8 years left. Let's cut a deal. You be out. This new tenant's in. Take that money that we got for the buyout, give that to the new tenant. They'll rebuild. We should make about 1.8 to 2.2 on it.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, when they go dark
very often.
Yeah, guys, no, that doesn't. When a tenant goes dark, it just means they don't like that market anymore, or they're shifting their gears, and they'll continue to pay the rent, but the building's empty. You see these all over, guys. These old bank buildings and other sorts of retail. Okay, got it. But let's go back to that D-class multifamily. Yeah, please. Just because
Ron, here's a lot of things like. We're seeing the shift, right? Everybody's hearing the news, right? California to Texas. Great. I know that's happening. I'm in Texas every month, but there are a lot of California people there. But the management style in Texas is not the same as it is here in California. And so two of the properties we bought in Texas were because They were out-of-state owners that were not watching their assets, treating it like a business. So the last one we bought, I'll give you, this is how bad it was.
Okay.
The 73 unit, there was an on-site manager. There was an assistant manager. There was a lead construction guy that was getting a 3-bedroom unit given to him, plus a salary.
Wow.
And his assistant was getting a salary. The manager, when we were looking at the numbers, she goes, "Are you guys going to keep me on?" I go, "Well, we can't keep you on for the salary that you're getting. This makes no sense." She goes, "Well, what are they saying I'm making?" And we told her, she goes, "I get half of that."
Wow.
So the property management company is billing for, let's just say 60 a year when she's actually getting 30. They're pocketing the rest.
Wow.
They were funneling their supplies for, they owned the property management owned a property right around the corner, buying supplies through this property, using it there.
Wow.
The guy that was getting a 3-bedroom was not even actually working on that property. He was working on a neighboring property. So again, we go back to treating it like a business, right? You need to go to that property, boots on the ground, go check and see what you're doing. Check your numbers.
Right.
That's how we bought that property. So when we were done, we took that guy that was a junior, put him in a 1-bedroom apartment because he was a single guy, gave him, I think he was either free rent or just about free rent plus his salary, and the manager a unit plus her salary.
That's all you need for that size asset.
Yeah, just that. And then we went in and just started upgrading the units to the level that of the market, because so many people go into these. I mean, this market was almost 100% Hispanic, long-term tenants.
Well, Hispanics are great. They're great tenant base. I mean, they're good, hardworking people. I mean, we won't turn this into a racial conversation, but I want to tell you, the hardest workers I've ever had, work with and work in conjunction with and had work for me, and good people. Now you may end up, with a lot of more residents in an asset and in a unit than you might like in some cases, I love to buy assets that are primarily Hispanic. They always do well, and that's mobile home parks and apartment complexes.
But you're right. You do have to, and again, your manager has to be proactive and walk through the units. We had them go through at least 3 times a year.
Right.
How many people are actually living in this place?
Right.
So
right. That comes up. I don't, I don't want to, say anything disparaging. Again, I have nothing but good things to say about, having an asset that has a lot of Hispanic people in it, because for that, like we just described. Now, so you didn't have much of a crime issue then. That was what I was going to ask you that next. And my guess is you really didn't, we
were kind of on an island. So there was a creek on one side, on the east side, a retail strip center on the right side that was just getting upgraded. A school that a lot of the kids were going to was on the other side, and then a main road.
Gotcha.
So we did have some in the beginning,
right?
And it's
okay.
But our biggest problem, Rod, was at one point we had some kid that was in the building across the creek, and he got a new BB gun for Christmas, and he shoots out our windows.
Yeah, that happens. Or if a previous owner made the mistake of putting throwable rocks in the landscaping, and you have kids in the complex. I mean, kids will be kids.
We were all kids. We probably wouldn't have done that because we were angry. But
I know
not everybody's like you and I.
I know I was a bad kid. No, I totally. No, I'm kidding. I wasn't that bad. But anyway, all right. So D class. But that's one of the things when you have an asset that's a C- or D class. I had my friend Maureen Miles on the show, and she's bought some of these. And one of the biggest things she said is you need to make sure you secure it with fencing so that there's like one way in, one way out. And you already had that literally by the way this thing was designed and built with these three corners handled. So that's a real positive.
We worked with the police department pretty regularly too. Yeah. We had them come by. We got to know them, and there was crime down the street, maybe about a half mile away. So we just, we would come in, we would serve them coffee, whatever they wanted, just come in and get to know our tenants and get, a lot of them were illegal. Tenants were a little nervous at first, but when they got to know, the police officers are like, listen, we don't have time for that. We're not going to, we'll come in, sit down, talk to your tenants. We want to make sure the kids feel safe around us. And that helped a lot.
Oh yeah. Now we do that as well. Yeah, no, that's fantastic. In fact, this asset we had in Louisiana, we had at one time, two officers that lived there as long as they drove their patrol cars home. There's nothing better than seeing a patrol car in the parking lot, and I've had an asset where we gave them the use of an office to, with a refrigerator and a desk so they can go in there and do the reports and park their car there. And, we'd put some drinks and stuff in there for them. And that's a win all the way down the line. In fact, Maureen talked about this asset she did in Atlanta, and she paid $2,000 to pay for the police officer's Christmas dinner. That's all it was. And they freaking love her there. And, so guys, one of the things you always do is you call the non-emergency number on the police department. You tell them you're, the new owner, and you want to find out what's going on there and what things to look out for and so on and so forth. And they love to see that, they love to see active involvement like that. So one thing,
Crime Watch meetings too.
Oh yeah, Crime
Watch meetings. Get on. What's that website? Nextdoor? Is that the thing? I think it's
Nextdoor. Yeah, Nextdoor. Yeah. Get
on there and talk about your community and how great it is, and that helps bring in tenants too.
Yeah, no, that's a lot of the social channels are really good for that. Facebook is really good for that now too. We've been shocked how effective it is. So let me ask you this: a lot of times when you've got an asset like that, with a minority demographic, you'll find residents that really don't have much of a credit history. And you were self-managing. What did you do to mitigate your risk when you encountered that? I'm just curious if it's what I think. Larger deposits. Yeah.
And we worked out. I mean, if they had a job and, they've been at the job for a while, we always checked references.
Right.
We always call and we made sure it wasn't their cousin or, this had to be a real, employer, and tell us about them. And then we'd even work a deal where if they couldn't do the whole deposit, let's spread it out over a few months but try and work with them. It's
funny. I tell a story sometimes when I tell my landlord horror stories. I had this house in Denver on 30th and Columbine. I remember it was a 2-story big Victorian and 5 bedrooms. And a guy rented it from me and didn't have any credit, told me he was in the maid service. And one day I'm reading the paper and there's a picture of my house and the headline was "Making Money the Old Fashioned Way." He had turned it into a whorehouse. It's a true story. And I called my partner. I had a partner in Chicago and I told him, I said, "Al, you own a whorehouse in Denver." Anyway, to me, that was funny, but
you never know. We looked at a couple properties in
I'm sorry. Hold on. But the reason I brought that up is I had charged the guy a triple deposit as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, I didn't lose any money. That was the reason I said that story. Please say what you were going to say.
Yeah, no, it's, we were doing walkthroughs on some of the properties in the area where we own this one. Mm-hmm. And you go in and it would be a 2-bedroom and they had it plywood up. They've turned in like a 4-bedroom and they were leasing it out.
Wow.
Leasing all these rooms out.
Yeah.
You again, check your properties, right?
Right. No, that's good. Well, So knowing what you know about real estate, which is extensive, you've been at it for a very long time. Yeah. If you went back to your 18-year-old self and whispered in your ear with what you know now, is there anything you might do different?
Yeah, there's a lot I do different. That's what
talk about that. I want my listeners to hear it.
Starting off with patience, find a deal that, know what you want, where are you going with this?
Right.
My end game. So work it backward. And, and I try and tell our agents this is, where do you want to be? And then work it backwards. So you want to make $500,000 a year, then figure that out on an hourly wage. This is what it's costing you every hour. This is what you got to do to get there, build your path. And so nice. I really just kind of jumped into it with no real plan in place. Mm-hmm. And, then I had to slowly build and, but if you really, this is where I want to go and then build the plan to get yourself there. I think that's the best.
What do you do every month, every week, every day, every hour to get to where you need to get? How many phone calls do you have to make? How many appointments do you need to make? Yeah, guys, that's really sound advice. Yeah. Who do I need to be?
And, there's a guy that I did an interview with, and it was brilliant. He has a big photo, bigger than this hole from my TV. Mm-hmm. He had it up there and it was just people that he needs to meet.
Wow.
This is who I need to meet. And I thought, man, that's brilliant.
Love it.
I mean, there was probably a couple hundred people through there, but he was halfway through them.
Wow.
Good for him. I try to connect with him. I find out who I have in common and I ask him to introduce me. And these are some pretty big people. And so he's, finding,
good for him.
Build that path.
What a great tip. What a great tip. It's not what you know, it's who you know, honestly.
Yeah.
That's really an awesome tip. So, again, back to that question, if you go back and tell yourself anything, would you do anything different as far as asset classes, size of assets? And would you have maybe done a little more in a particular area, done it any differently? Does anything come to mind with that question?
I wish I owned more multifamily. I mean, we're sold out of our multifamily right now, but
I got you.
I wish I had bought more multifamily. I may have been a little too conservative.
Yeah.
In the beginning, and I didn't feel that I was educated enough, and it turns out I wasn't. I might have been in the poorhouse, but yeah.
Listen, at least you took action, dude. I mean, seriously, and it's okay if you learn from your mistakes. We fail our way to success. Seriously, I agree. Yeah. So, okay. I'd rather see somebody do that and stub their toe and bloody their nose than never get started, which I see more.
Talk about it instead of doing it, and then bag on to people that have done it and have created success for themselves. Go out and do it and try it. It's not easy, but now there's, you've got guys like you that are out there putting this great content out that can really, you can learn from it. Yeah. And so, when I started, the internet wasn't around, and I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anybody in California. So, I think it's a good time to really be, and I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And no question. No question. I mean, as we're speaking, Russia just attacked Ukraine. And so I don't know when this episode is going to air, but who knows, that could be a catalyst for a contraction. Who knows? I know there's a huge pent up demand for housing in this country. So maybe it won't. I thought COVID was going to be the catalyst, and I was sure of it actually. And then my kids love to tell me, "Are you tired of being wrong?" Because I was sure that was going to cause it, but who knows? But it's crazy times we live in with all of that. And so it's so important, to stay focused on what you want and push forward, and don't let the noise get into your head. And even I fall trap to that. That's right. Stick to your plan. Love it. Yeah. So let me ask you this. Is there a book that you've gifted to your agents or to people in your sphere that maybe more than another? Is there something that you really enjoy or something you'd share?
I don't know the name of it though. I just ordered it day before yesterday. I was watching, and I'll tell you this. The story is, I was watching Rob Dyrdek. I don't know if you know who he is. He does Ridiculousness on TV. It's a show that's on TV. But and he used to have Robin Big. He's had a bunch of shows and skate parks. He's out of Ohio. Smart guy, young guy, and I'd say he's in his 30s. But he was building these business, and he goes, I was making millions, and he goes, I was just printing money, and he goes, I was built this media company. It was a part of what I was doing, and I was going to sell that off and bring in investors to sell a portion of it off. And he goes, and here I was walking big, talking big. And he goes, I sent them my plan, and they sent it back a few days later going, you're uninvestable. And he goes, what? And then he goes, it really probably was the biggest setback in my life. It's made me the most money, is those people telling me that, because it made me learn that I was just doing the business every day, and I didn't have a real plan in place. He goes, they were exactly right. And he goes, I was making millions a week, but I was spending millions a week with production and all that stuff. He wasn't just throwing money away. There's just no plan. And to get investors, you better have a plan. And so he talked about this book. I ordered it. And I'll put it, it'll be in, by the time this airs, I'll send it to you if you want to put it down below. But it's really about building your business from the back forward. And that's really it. But now my business partner here in LA likes to give our agents The Art of War. Art of War, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's an awesome classic. Yeah, that's an awesome classic. But if you read it, it's good messages. There's a lot of lessons in there. You bet. Some great messaging in there. And that's thousands of years old, and it's still applicable today. Love it. Well, listen, my friends, good to see you again. I appreciate you coming in and adding value. And guys, like I said, check out his YouTube Real Estate Jam session. And thanks for coming on, brother. Appreciate it. Good to see you, man. Thank you for having me on, Rod. All right, take care. You bet. Guys, we've been going nonstop for 3 years, building an amazing community of like-minded people. And our coaching students, which we call our warriors, have had extraordinary results. They've purchased thousands and thousands of units. And last year we did over 1,000 units with our students.
And we're looking to grow this group and take it to the next level. We're looking for people who want to follow a proven framework that's really step by step, and then leverage our systems and network to raise equity, to find and close deals, and to build partnerships nationwide. Now, our warrior community is finding success in any market cycle. So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become more of our incredible network and take advantage of the incredible opportunities that are coming very soon, apply to work with us at mentorwithrod.com or text CRUSH to 72345, and we'll set up a call so you can check us out and we can check you out. That's mentorwithrod.com or text CRUSH to 72345.